What's an NPC and how can you tell if somebody's an NPC in real life? The term NPC actually comes from video games. It means non-player character. So if I'm playing a video game, the character I'm playing is a player character. All of the other characters are made or programmed by the programmers or the system or the matrix itself, depending on the context that we're speaking of. So if you take that kind of concept and you put it into real life, human beings, there's a portion of us who are complete NPCs. And how can you tell? Usually if they have only black and white thinking. It's binary thinking. That is the number one clue that somebody is very easily brainwashed. And so they cannot think outside of that binary thinking, and they can also not self-reflect. So if the government tells them to do something and then they do it, a month later, the government can tell them to do the opposite of what they did, and they will do it without questioning anything. And hypocrisy means nothing to them because the system has programmed them to believe that what they are doing is completely correct. And it is super easy to propagate these NPCs into propaganda machines, which is what we've seen in 2020. And now in Canada, all you have to do to activate these sleeper cells, these NPCs, is put out a few slogans out there, pump the message quite a few times to elicit an emotional response, and the NPCs will do what they're going to do. And that is why you're seeing a bunch of these NPCs who are now Team Canada, who basically stated not even 2 years ago that being a patriot was racist, right? And that Canada didn't have a national identity, but now all of a sudden they're wrapping themselves in Canada flags and hooray for pro-Canada, which is kind of really odd to those of us who are normal because it seems hypocritical. Not to NPCs. NPCs cannot think. And that is why they utilize them in 2020 with the whole trust the science. Don't question science. You know, we're all in this together. And that is why you can't really put information in front of them because it glitches their brain. They do not know how to think outside of that binary system. And that is why you'll see the media and the governments always only give two solutions because the NPCs will go from one to the other and they will not see a third or a fourth in order to solve the problem itself. And that is why now in Canada, all Sparkle Socks had to do was say, ooh, Orange Man, bad. And literally everyone is willing to vote for the puppeteer who got us into this mess, which is Mark Carney, because he's been controlling Justin Trudeau the entire time. He got us into this mess. But all he had to say was a couple of slogans, elicit an emotional response. And all of a sudden you see this like Mark Carney train. And they think that this guy will solve all of the problems that literally he caused. Why? Because they cannot think outside of the system. They are purely programmed, completely useless unless the government needs to get propaganda out there and start pushing a narrative that will benefit them. I hope that makes sense.